instructional session update. We appreciate your interest and participation in these sessions over the last 6 months and hope you found them useful. I'd particularly like to thank, while I have the opportunity, Shannon Valine and Ashley Malloy for all of their work and dedication to this project, and more recently, Kayla McElrath, who joined our team in November and who we tossed right into the ICRIS deep end. I'm going to go through some information pertaining to Go Live, and then Ashley will demo the work queues and functionality there, and then we'll have time, of course, for more Q&A. So Go Live is still currently scheduled for 6 days from now on Monday, January 22nd. If that changes for any reason, and we wouldn't anticipate it would change more than a day, we'll send an email to you all and post that update on our website. I want to particularly thank those of you who were able to submit site forms and projects to us to get in ahead of our database shutdown. Shannon was able to input 1,200 new sites into our database in the last 12 weeks, which was a massive effort on her part and took quite a bit of time for her to accomplish. So thank you, Shannon, for all of your hard work there. In doing this, she did prioritize sites associated with new projects that will be reviewed in ICRIS. For projects that were already in consultation, but Smithsonian trinomials had not yet been provided. They might still not have those assigned, but we'll get to them as soon as possible. Related to that, review staff entered existing projects into the REB database as well, so the information will migrate and your projects should populate in ICRIS when we go live. So as I said, Go Live is next Monday, January 22nd. We are eagerly and nervously awaiting that, but hopefully you share our enthusiasm. Users will need to register and be approved before gaining access to our sensitive data, and only professionally qualified users will have that access. Some of you have looked around our ICRIS page on the website, which is great, and you may have come across the development registration page and went ahead and registered. All of those registrations, though, will be deleted with the last data migration this coming weekend, so you will need to register again after Go Live, even if you have already registered on our website. We anticipate that there may be some eagerness to get registered and start working with it. We'd like to ease into things a bit, so everyone trying to register, so that we don't have everyone trying to register and be approved at once. So we're requesting that maybe federal agency staff register on Monday and Tuesday, and then contractors begin registering on Wednesdays, or on this Wednesday. This is not a hard and fast rule. If a contractor really needs to get going on a project, we absolutely won't prevent you from registering, and federal agency staff are certainly not required to register on Monday or Tuesday. We just appreciate it if you would generally follow that structure to sort of give us a little breathing room. In regard to registration, if you are known to us, if you're someone we've worked with in the past, whether a federal agency staff person or a contractor, approvals won't take very long in the process. If you're new to working in cultural resources in Idaho, like brand new, and you have not worked with our office before, you will need to upload your credentials, and they will need to be confirmed before you receive access to sensitive data. Even if you are known to us, we would appreciate an updated copy of your resume or vita when you create your account, since many of the copies we have are in some cases decades old. We've been working with some of you folks for quite a while. How quickly we can turn those registrations around will really depend entirely on how many we get in those, early days. But hopefully it won't take too long. It isn't a lengthy process on our end, but we'll just be working through this for the first time. All qualified users, those who are professionally qualified, will be given a free pro level subscription through the rest of January and the entire month of February. This should help with making registration go more quickly for everybody, because you won't have to worry about subscribing or not subscribing if you want to do that. New annual subscriptions, therefore, will begin March 1st. If you choose to subscribe, you'll want to do so by March 1st. And we're working on finalizing the actual subscription page, and it will definitely be up before March. So we are actively working on training videos that tackle individual pieces of ICRIS functionality. By the end of this week, you should be able to find on our website short videos on how to register, how to view and use your organization's page, resource searching for guests or the public, and that's just built environment resources only. And for qualified users, how to search for projects, surveys, and resources. By early next week, we'll post videos on how to create a project and how to create a resource record. We'll continue to build these training videos moving forward. We'll base these on main functionality, but also probably what users seem to have the most questions about. So we'll sort of be responding to your needs as we go as well. And we'll also develop tips and tricks to help users. Related to that, in terms of training, beginning the week following go live on January 30th, we're going to try holding regular live Q&A sessions on Tuesday afternoons at this same time and Thursday mornings. So all those sessions you can, or at those sessions, you would be able to share your screen to get help walking through a process that you're having trouble with, and or we can share our screens and you can be working simultaneously on yours. I will be sending out invitations to those sessions sometime this week. You don't actually need to send responses to those, though I just figured out how to turn those off, so you can send them if you want. These sessions will continue until interest or need appears to diminish, or possibly they'll just become less frequent. So we'll play that by ear. After go live, you can also send email questions to ICRIS@ishs.idaho.gov, and that'll be posted on our website. We'll have 3 or 4 staff people monitoring that email, so hopefully we'll be able to respond to questions that come in there fairly quickly. And updated guidance that reflects the shift to ICRIS will be up on our website this week. Also, just as an FYI, starting last Friday and throughout this week, we do not have access to our databases as the developers have that all locked up for the final push. A final thought before we get to the demo and the Q&A. As hard as the developers and our team have been working on this, there are bound to be bugs as we go live. We will have 2 of our coders working for us the first 2 weeks debugging problems, and after that we'll have a full-time, one of them will stay on full-time for the next year working on issues and continuing to build functionality and make improvements. So as you work with the system, if you see areas for improvement, please let us know, and we can look at building that into the system. And finally, of course, there are bound to be some rocky moments in the first couple of weeks, but rest assured that we're never going to leave any of you hanging. We're committed to working with all of our external stakeholders to get through this transition and make sure your needs are met. So please be patient with us, and we will commit to being patient with you. So, okay, now I'm going to turn it over to Ashley, who is going to give a demonstration to show you what the work queues will look like and some of that functionality. So, Ashley?
Yep, we're actually gonna have Kayla demo the work queues first.
All right, Kayla, thank you.
Hello, just going to share my screen. Okay, so we thought we would show you the user work queue and organization queue. This is for the pro subscribers to where you can keep track of your projects within ICRIS instead of having to go back and forth to your email. So we'll look at the organization queue first. And this is everything that's associated with your organization. So you'll have a list of projects that are associated with that organization. And this one that I'm signed in as Bureau of Reclamation. So all of the projects associated with them are going to pop up on here. And for the demonstration, we thought we would show you how to assign a project. So we can check this unassigned box and in progress filter, and it shows you all of the projects that are unassigned and in progress that need a lead agency to be assigned to them. So if you click the project, it'll open up this record. And you have your lead agency, and you can see that lead agency reviewer is blank. And if I hit edit, I can actually assign to people who are associated with Bureau of Reclamation or whatever agency you're associated with. And so if I start typing their name, there's only one assigned to it, so it'll just be Kayla Pro. And then I can scroll down and hit save. And then the project is updated. So now we can go to the user work queue for the person we assign the project to. And there's my review queue, which is projects that you created. And then we have my project list, which is projects that were assigned to you, recently completed, or you're a secondary reviewer on. And so to find this project, it's this one. So we can see that it's made it to our user work queue. And from there, you can click on the project and make any edits that you need to as the person assigned to the project. You can add project attachments, add polygons and GIS, add any surveys and project resources. So those are the two work queues. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. I'm going to stop sharing now.
Sorry. Yes, we're going to open it up to questions, answers now, specifically what Kayla just demoed or any other questions you might have.
I can also demo the survey 123 app if
sorry,
you'd like.
Ashley.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
why don't you go ahead and do
fine,
that?
since we don't have any questions about the work queues, so I can do that.
Okay, so the Survey 123 app is has been developed to go along with ICRIS. It will allow you to capture points of data in the field and take it back to the office and upload it into ICRIS. It's not all of the fields, it's really just the fields that are more field relevant. So it's a more limited bunch of data. So go ahead, Ashley, thanks.
Sure. So for the best results, I'll just say it is much easier to use this app on your phone or a tablet. It has advanced features in the actual app versus filling it out on your desktop. But we are going to submit a resource via the survey app. So you first enter your email associated with your ICRIS login. And now this email, it might seem redundant to enter it each time. On the actual app on the phone, you can have an option to save your favorite answers. And so you can just click that every single time. We're going to just fill out some of these fields. We're not going to fill out all of them. You can put notes that can transfer over into the ICRIS system. So if I want to say, contributing or something like that, I can make a note in that field. We're gonna click the type of resource. So this will filter the types of information that you can click. So if you're collecting an archaeological site, or if you're collecting a building, you can do that as well. And then you can fill out whatever information that you want. that you want to collect in the field. So we're just going to go and collect whatever we know about this building. And then you have the option to draw the polygon. So we can zoom into our resource. And this is much easier on the actual app. Like we're recording this building here. You can also change, if you need to, the base map. And then you can also upload photos. Oops, it's just giving my screen. Exit out of there. Then we can submit the resource. You don't need an internet connection when you're in the field. If you're using your phone, it'll save the resource to the phone. And then once you have an internet connection, you can upload the resource to the ICRIS data. So then you can go into ICRIS and you can do a survey 123 import. Again, this is available to pro users only. So we can see that it imported the data. It has images associated with it. It has all the information that we filled out in the field. It has the map data here. So you can do that for each resource. This is limited to only new resources. We don't have a way to update previous resources at the moment. But yeah, if you have new resources, if you're doing a large scale survey in a new area, the field app is great for those sorts of projects. And that's everything we have for this. Any questions about the Survey 123 app or import?
Go ahead, Nikki.
Thanks. I just have a question, and this might not be something that you can answer, but have you had anyone test your Survey 123 app from, say, a government device yet? Or are there going to be like firewalls put up against that? I've never used Survey 123. I know it's an app that we can use, but I don't know how what yours does interfaces with what we're allowed to do. And that, like I said, that might be a question for our IT, not you, but.
Yeah, we submitted, so you don't need to actually log into the Survey 123 app, so you don't need to have any credentials. All you need to do is either have the QR code or the link to do it. So even if you scan this today and try to upload or record something, you should be able to record it, I believe.
Okay. And then can I ask a second question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you said that right now we can't update existing site records using the Survey 123 app. So if we are, say, revisiting existing sites, can we still record the stuff in there and then transfer it to the existing site record, or is that going to mess everything up?
My understanding is you can certainly still record it as though it were a new resource, but when you get back to your office, you would need to go in to the ICRIS and update it separately. So you can capture the data in the field with the app, but it won't update the existing site record. But
Okay.
you absolutely can capture the information, take it back with you and use it then once you're back in your office.
Okay.
You have to copy and paste basically all the information that you copied or captured in the field into the update resource record, and then you'd have to delete the resource that you uploaded
Okay.
or recorded. I think it's just easier probably to upload it like the old-fashioned, not the old-fashioned way, but like just updating a resource in ICRIS.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Did you say there are already some work aids references that are available now, or is that still forthcoming? By the end of the week, we should have some things posted. Nothing is simple, and updating our website is one of those not simple things, but we should have that by the end of the week. We should start building those tools on our website. General question, if our firm purchases a pro business subscription, which gives us 5 users, can trainees, technicians use ICRIS? I believe you mentioned before that users had to be credentialed, vetted by SHPO, but what about entry-level folks who may not be meet SOI standards yet? Yeah, I mean, our expectation is that kind of training and use by not fully credentialed folks will be happening sort of under fully credentialed employees of an agency and or a consulting firm, but we wouldn't provide a pro user subscription to an individual just individually who's not professionally qualified. Will any updates replace any previous recording information? Will that previous information be available for citation? So there will always be, I might ask Ashley or Shannon to hop in here, but there will always be the historic record of the previous versions of the site form. Those won't go away. The historical versions of the site form, no matter how many there are, how many times it's been updated, those will still exist. Hopefully that's answering your question. They'll just be part of the legacy data that's associated with the resource record in ICRIS.
It'll also
Ashley.
auto-populate most of the fields if it's been previously recorded. And I say that like it'll do most of the fields. It just depends when the resource was last updated. So if it was updated 5 years ago, and we have a lot more information versus, if it's a record from 1960, you're going to probably have to populate most of the data in that resource record.
Yeah. So whatever data we currently have in the database for an existing resource will migrate into ICRIS. And as Ashley said, we'll populate the common fields between the most recent site record and the new ICRIS resource record. Is there a limit to the number of photos of an individual site in survey 123? Ashley, do you happen to know the answer to that?
I believe it's 5.
Fine. What is the process for updating a linear site? How do you avoid assigning multiple Smithsonian numbers to these resources over multiple surveys by multiple organizations? Yeah, that was not an easy bit to figure out. And Shannon maybe needs to jump in on that. Shannon, I think.
Sure. Well, our policy previously was that we would issue Smithsonian numbers for the entire length of the linear resource from county line to county line. And that will still hold true, although Ashley, you worked on the rewriting of our policies. Do you want to add to that?
I think so. We merged all of the numbers, like Shannon said. So when you go to record a resource, you'll have to map it throughout the state because of that change. And many of these resources, of course, have been previously recorded and have been mapped, but there are new ones, and we expect that most people will use available GIS data out there and bring those files into ICRIS.
This is the person who asked the question, Paul. So what I was talking about specifically for something that currently had an IHSI number, right? It's now going to suddenly get a new Smith number, correct?
Yes.
And so if I have a project that takes in part of this resource and somebody else has a project that takes in part of this resource, what's the process that's going to avoid giving it two Smith numbers? Because they're submitting and I'm submitting, and the system is automatically generating a Smith number.
The resources that are currently in the database with IHSI numbers have all been issued unique Smithsonian numbers. So you would be doing an update to the existing Smithsonian number.
Okay, so how do I get that Smith number on a project that I've already started, but this hasn't gone live, so I don't have it?
So the Smithsonian numbers, they'll be auto-generated once we get the final data push into ICRIS. So that will be this weekend. So I don't have a way of giving you a Smithsonian number that will be assigned to that resource right now, because the back-end system is going to auto-generate those Smithsonian numbers. So once you go and log into ICRIS and look at that resource, or you can even do a search for that IHSI number, then you can see what the Smithsonian number has that has been assigned to it is.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, it's just another step in a project I already have ongoing, but okay, thank you.
Yeah, those IHSI numbers, although we won't be assigning any new ones, that information will be retained as legacy data, and you will still be able to search under an ISHI number if that's, if that's how you've got information recorded or how you know how to access information, you'll be able to search under that. So that won't be lost. Will the tribes have access, and how will it be handled? Yes, the tribes will have access to ICRIS as well. And I should have mentioned that. Some of us non-SOI qualified student trainees are only archaeologists working in our field offices, or are the only ones who will be using ICRIS in our field offices. Can you elaborate on how you will be assessing who in the agencies and who in the agencies has access? Well, that's a tricky circumstance that we hadn't necessarily come up with in our conversations. We may have to go back and take a look at that and have that conversation and get back with you on that. So sorry, Jennifer, we'll discuss. If time allows, can you demo doing a site update to an existing site? Ashley, is that something you can pull up and do fairly easily?
Yes, just give me a minute.
While Ashley's pulling that up, this is Marissa, just maybe commenting on that SOI qualified stuff. Would it be helpful if we do have students or people that are working towards that to like name the mentor or the SOA qualified person that's working with them in the request? Would that be something? Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. Thank you, Marissa.
Yeah, we'll do that in our staff, so.
Okay, great.
Okay, let me pull up the screen. So this is our project. We've added a shapefile or have drawn a polygon on our GIS. This has to be done so that you can populate the resources within your project screen. So we can go to resources created by this project. So this is the one I just imported using Survey 123. And then you can also look at ones that have been previously recorded. So under our literature review, and let's say we want to update Dr. Craig's dentist office. We can view the previous site form here. And then, oops, go back down here. Should have opened that in a new tab. We can create a new version of this resource right here. So we click create new version. We can say it says new resource version has been created. We can also look at the previous determinations of eligibility down here, associated projects, associated surveys, there are none, and any resource comments by the Idaho SHPO here. We can also look and make sure the GIS is correct. And so I can update a shape polygon for this, but it reflects the building better. We update our shape. We can upload our photos of this resource. So I'm just grab 2 photos, 2 random photos. So each resource will need at least 2 photos. It also tells you that you can upload attachments like historic newspapers, maps, engineering drawings, artifact illustrations, feature drawings, any of that information as well. Just an FYI, they will be breaking this section up soon where we'll have project attachments and then photos separately. We can select our overview photo. Save that. We can also view the legacy site form right here. And it'll open, so we can see the previous site form that was done in 2017 by Carrie Davis. We can look at the doctor's office and any of the resource information that was previously recorded. Since this was updated recently in 2017, a lot of this information you can see has been already populated. The same thing with the property type information. A lot of this has been populated, but let's say I want to, maybe there was an alteration, we can update this alteration date. We can also, if something like the window material wasn't previously recorded, we can add the window material. We can add any other materials or update any other materials here. You guys won't get this box. This is for SHPO users only. When you update something, the one thing that will not, which will be required to be updated every single time. So if there's a really good description of the building, we need to update it, we can update it here. This information will be saved in another version, in a previous version here. So you can always access the old version of the resource before you updated it right here. But let's say, they only gave us a 1-paragraph description. We can add a couple more paragraphs about it, or maybe we know more of the history of the resource, of like why it was built and who it was built. We can add that here. And then this NRHP, justification, significance, and integrity, you'll have to do for any update. We want you all to think about why this resource may be eligible. If there was a previous NRHP justification of significance and integrity, it'll show you the previous one above. And if it hasn't changed, you could copy and paste it back in, or you can maybe there's been some more dings to the integrity. If like windows have been replaced or something, you can put that in the integrity statement and talk about material and design changes, but we're just gonna write it here. So once you're done updating your resource, you can mark it complete, change status to complete. And that's basically updating a resource, just verifying that all the information that's been populated is correct, or if there's been changes, that information is correct, the eligibility, all of that, and uploading photos. I think photos will be the biggest thing for you all, is making sure you guys capture 2 photos at least when you're out in the field. And so you can see Dr. Craig's dentist office, and we have it in complete status. Once it gets a complete status, it'll be issued a Smithsonian number.
So I'm gonna jump ahead, but I'll go back. Christopher, I hope that answered your question. Yes, all previous site data remains. It does not get obliterated by the new site data. Each successive legacy piece of the record will remain, so you can go back through the many updates if there are. So that data will not be lost. Gina, your question is one we're going to have to probably have a little bit of conversation inside. What we might be looking at is that, you would be working under someone from the district office or the state office or that kind of thing. But we'll get that worked out and let you know. So Shannon or Ashley, can you answer Julie's question, asking for clarification about the linear resources only need to be mapped between county lines. Earlier you mentioned a linear resource will need to be mapped throughout the state. Is that correct? Entire state versus county line to county line?
It's entire state moving forward.
Hopefully with the GIS, it'll be easier to do that within the ICRIS. Do we still need to input legals, UTMs, corresponding quad maps, et cetera? No, that's the GIS will auto-populate that based on either the shape that you create or upload into the system. Are you able to demo how to export a site form yet? Are we? No. Sorry guys. It is being worked on. It is, I know for a fact.
Yeah, the print view one will be after go live. They said within like a week or 2 after go live, we'll have a print view of the site form. You can export the shapefile of the resource currently. So with all of the tabular, not all of the tabular data, but a lot of the tabular data that's pertinent.
Can you give an overview of the new guidance or changes from the existing guidelines or the guidelines? Sorry. That piece isn't changing significantly. Mostly we were integrating trying to build in how to integrate that into ICRIS. But if you're looking for your report guidelines, the report is created outside of ICRIS and then uploaded into the system as a PDF. So that guidance isn't really changing. The report is still the report for the most part. I mean, we did try to streamline some of the language and clarify things as we went through and reviewed it, but we're not sort of reissuing whole new processes for, or report templates or anything like that. It's essentially the same, and then trying to integrate the ICRIS process into it. It looked like the data was being overwritten when you changed the dentist office site form, but you are saying it won't be? It is overwritten. I'll see if I can answer this. It is overwritten, but the version that you overwrote will also remain, you know, as sort of a legacy piece that can be accessed and reviewed. Did I say that correctly, Ashley or Shannon?
Yes, Ashley is showing how version 1 differs from version 2.
So there may be, you know, multiple versions of any particular site form or resource record moving forward, but they'll all be part of legacy data and will carry forward. So everyone will have be able to see the changes over time. Clarifying question, did you say it's next Monday, January 22nd, that federal agencies should start submitting registration for users? Yeah, Monday and Tuesday, we were sort of hoping agencies would get themselves registered, and then starting on Wednesday, opening it up for contractors as well. But again, that doesn't require agencies to register those days, and nor does it mean that you know, if you're in private practice, that you may not register on Monday and Tuesday. We're just trying to sort of manage the volume so it doesn't become overwhelming. Is survey 123 part of the ICRIS subscription? Yes, it is. How can we reasonably expect especially a small project proponent to be responsible for reporting GIS on a statewide linear site? Having recently needed to digitize about 20 linear sites from county line to county line, that takes hours of digitization and hundreds of maps for the site form. Digitizing statewide resources takes extensive amount of time, and Smithsonian trinomials are typically assigned county by county. Shannon?
The Smithsonian numbers now will be just one Smithsonian number. It won't have an individual Smithsonian number county by county. And you won't need to upload the hundreds of maps once you've digitized that whole length of the linear resource. That would be the extent of your mapping for that linear resource. I hope that answers your question.
Does registration timeframe of Monday and Tuesday include agency employees that are not archaeologists and will just be a basic user? Shannon? Shannon, you're muted.
Sorry, I was rereading the question. Guidance on how to determine how the linear resource. So, you know, we don't have, oh boy, we don't have a way of designating how that or where that information was derived from. We do have an improvement story set up so that individual pieces can be named. So you could have a piece that is just one little segment that is the ground truth version, and then the rest of it was derived from GLO maps. And so you'd be able to separate those two shapes or two lines and name them. It's an improvement piece that we've suggested. It's not part of this release, though.
So Kevin, going back to your question, I mean, just agency employees should just all register starting on Monday, and it doesn't matter at what level they are. Hopefully that answers your question. It sounds like a workshop session / tutorial devoted to mapping linear resources when the state would be helpful to many. Yeah, I mean, it does sound like that. And so let's plan on doing something like that. That, you know, that's exactly what we want to get out of these conversations and the Q&A sessions, you know, moving forward is, you know, what do you all need more assistance with, and where can we be most helpful with providing you our time to do that. So we will definitely make a note of that and do something specific on that. If we are not uploading maps, do we have an idea of what the maps generated by ICRIS will look like? I'm gonna throw that to Shannon again.
I don't have an answer for that. They haven't designed that piece. They're still designing the print resource version.
Oh, you're talking about the output maps.
Yes, the map that's on within ICRIS, you can change the base map to whichever you would like, if you want a topo map or an aerial image. So, and you can also make that map full screen, so you could see quite a bit more of that resource. So hopefully, and there will be a printable version of this. We just haven't gotten to that point in the development right now.
I'm going to, Wendy, I'm gonna, you know, take your comment and that's something we'll be looking at with, you know, trying to do a more specific kind of session to address linear resources. Linear resources have always been a nightmare. Yes, unknown user. We agree. We've always struggled with linear resources ourselves, and we understand that they're difficult for you and they're difficult for us. So we'll try to all work through that together. I was also curious about contributing and non-contributing segments of linear resources. Shannon, can you talk about how those would be treated?
Actually, I'm going to pass that off to Ashley.
Okay, Ashley.
So Shannon did mention that we have some improvements. So one of our improvements eventually will be having linear resources where hopefully we have contributing and non-contributing, and we can really start to understand the overall resource within the state, which I think in the long run will be great for us if we start to see lots of, you know, red and then, you know, a third of the resource is green, then maybe that resource may not be eligible. So that's what we're moving towards. I think, Nancy, what you're getting at is like, if you do an ITD project, are you still doing like a, what are they, the segment forms or something like that? And that will be up to the federal agency for those. You can definitely put it in the description and NRHP justification sections as well if you're recording a specific segment.
All right, these things are jumping around. So are our proponents expected to do statewide GLO and USGS searches and digitization of all areas? Ashley?
I think they're talking about like a lot of those like 2-track roads, I'm guessing, who, oh, this is an unknown user. So like modern highways and canals and everything, a lot of that has been digitized, but if you're looking at 2-track roads, those might be different. And we do have a 2-track road policy in the works. I don't know if Trisha wants to talk about that at all. But some of it, like our current guidance says, when you're doing county line to county line, you can look at based on aerials where a route goes, or to the best of your ability. And some of it might be some guesswork, but That's what our current guidance says.
We are working on finalizing a policy that will address two-track roads, much like we've developed policies regarding canals in Idaho. So hopefully we'll get that out sooner rather than later, but we've been a little distracted by ICRIS. So is the plan improvement for linear resources the same case for contributing and non-contributing features within a non-linear site? I'm not quite sure what you're asking here, Dana. I don't know if that's making more sense to Ashley, or maybe you can unmute and just kind of further explain.
I'm not sure if this is helpful, but that we do have a historic district that can have contributing and non-contributing resources within that. We don't have a way for contributing and non-contributing like archaeological features to be accounted for in the system.
But certainly, yeah, I mean, if you look at these, this is an urban area that identifies. I'm just not sure what the question is. Yes, I mean, you can have contributing and non-contributing sites within a non-linear site, or has contributing non-contributing resources within a non-linear site. And that will indicate on the map and on the resource record whether it's contributing or non-contributing. So I hope that gets at what you're asking. And it should be more evident when you're, when you have some time to go in and play around with the maps and kind of cruise around and see, and you'll be able to see the indication of what's contributing, what's not contributing within historic districts. And that feature already exists. Is there an expected date for the two-track road policy to be released? No, we didn't have a specific target date, but I'm gonna make another note of that and try to get it on my list of to-dos to finalize. And we'll get it out as soon as we can, because I think we anticipate it'll make everyone's lives easier, so. Oh, who's got their hand raised? I can't.
It's
Joe,
me,
go
Tricia.
ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
Go ahead, Joe.
Just a quick question about the survey 123. Could you use that to record new resources that are tied to a district? And is there a way to make that linkage in the field as contributing or non-contributing elements?
Ashley, do you want to answer that?
So the short answer is no. The issue is you have to upload or not upload, but you have to complete all of the individual resources first, and then you have to create the district resource record and draw the polygon. And then once you draw that polygon around or your district boundary, it'll populate with all of the resources that fall within there. And then you can have is this part of the district? You can say yes or no, and then you can give the contributing or non-contributing status. So if you have a district that's, this is Idaho City, so these are a lot of buildings. So maybe we have this actually is not a good example, but let's say we're just focusing on the buildings, we're not focusing on the historic archaeology out there, and we want to exclude all the archaeological resources. We could say that, no, and then that'll be the end of it. But if it is within the district, you can say yes, and then you can click your contributing and non-contributing status. We do have an improvement story that I think will be done pretty shortly after the release, where they're going to pull out this resource, all the resources that fall within district, which we felt was very cumbersome, and then pull it down here as a table, which we think more people will like. But right now it's sort of just on the side here. Does that make sense, Joe?
It does. It just one thing. It just seems like if you're relying on, you know, survey 123 in this form as your primary means of field recordation, there could be some hangups with that, especially with dealing with, you know, features within a district or resources within a district.
And you're talking about specifically archaeological districts, is that
just
correct?
in general, like there's going to be a lot more that's going to need to happen for that form submission when you get back into ICRIS, right? I mean, you can't just
Yes.
rely on what you're gathering in those forms, or, you know, those fields in the form.
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned earlier, primarily we focused on the sort of field specific forms, the things that you're trying to record because you see them in the field, as opposed to sort of the background research kind of aspects to your form. So those were the fields that we were trying to capture with the field form for Survey 123. One of the issues, and one of the issue with why you cannot update site forms on the app is because the app isn't actively linked to ICRIS. It's you know, a separate app, and so you have to go back and upload the data into ICRIS. So that that sort of, I think, relates a little bit to what you were saying about the existing historic district. That's not going to show up on the app because you're not actively linked to the ICRIS at the time you're in the field. So I don't know if that makes sense or if that gets at
No,
anything you were.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Okay. Dana, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify a little bit on this. Makes a lot of sense how you're describing contributing and non-contributing within a district. But my question is more for like our sites where we're evaluating individual structures, say like a ski resort that has some buildings that aren't contributing and some that are. And if that is able to be displayed within the site record in ICRIS, or if it doesn't get that specific.
No, it would. I mean, there's, you know, where we always go back to this. There's something's only contributing or non-contributing if there's actually a historic district in existence, right? And a ski area, I think, is a good example of where there, you know, that would be potentially a historic district. So if you have a ski area that's a historic district, and then the individual elements within it can be identified as contributing or non-contributing. I know, Ashley, do you want to elaborate a little more on that? Because you're better at that than I am.
So if there's a district present, then you create a district resource. So for the ski resorts, for large complexes like university campuses, school campuses, mines, things of that nature, really large farmsteads, you'd be creating a district, and then you'll have the option to identify whether the resource that falls within that district boundary is contributing or non-contributing. Does that make sense? I think if you're recording a district, you can always reach out to us, or a large complex of buildings, you can, or objects, structures, whatever. You can reach out to us and we can help you through that. I think that's going to be one of the more complicated things in ICRIS to do.
Paul's question, I'll get to you in a second, Nikki. With with the attachments to past resource records in the ICRIS system, will it end up in the archive? Will something like a sketch map of a site remain available? Yes. All legacy data will remain available. None of that will be lost. And none of it will be lost from version to version. So it will always all be available. Hopefully that's clear. We've been trying to make that clear. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I recognize that that's been asked a couple times. What I was thinking about was the printable version. Like when I go back to my past resource records and I click that PDF, will I be able to get, will the site form and everything, will the site maps and things be attached to the back of that like they currently are? Or is that going to take me a separate step?
That PDF will still be available.
And it will have
Well,
the,
I think
it'll have the images and.
I think what you're asking, so version 1, which is the version of our current data that's being transferred into ICRIS, and version 1 will have the PDF, which currently is every single site update to that resource, all merged into one PDF. Now you go into ICRIS and create a version 2. The PDF will still be displayed on version 2. And then if you go and create version 3, the PDF, the original PDF will be attached to version 3. But if you wanted to look at the map and photos from version 2, you would actually just navigate through the system to version 2 and view it. And you could.
So
yeah, so it is printable.
Sketch map to the field with me, I'm going to have to print it before I go or put it on my own device before I go, right? As a separate thing.
We will have a way for you to print the map that you've, or the shape that you've created in ICRIS. We will have a way for you to print that. So you could go back to that. If you've uploaded a separate PDF with a sketch map that shows all the features within that resource, that obviously would be attached as a PDF attachment, and you'd be able to open that and print that.
Right, separately. Okay. I was just, what I was thinking about was I returned to a site, say somebody saw it 20 years ago. I usually take their sketch map with me to see what of theirs I can relocate, right? And
Right.
so I was just trying to see if this was going to add a step where I was going to have to find that map, or whether it was automatically going to be generated as part of like a site form package of previous work. So,
well, if it's an actual sketch map, then it would be as an attachment. And the attachments actually will be labeled with the type of attachment that it is. So if it's a sketch map, or if it's sorry, I'm lost for words, like a spreadsheet of artifacts, or some historical documentation, they'll all have there's the list there.
right. I was just wondering whether it was going to juggle, whether the system was going to juggle all this together for me, or whether it was a manual process for me. Does that make sense? I think we've arrived at an answer.
Okay. Good. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Shannon.
Yeah.
What, it was important to us that the different versions didn't get lost and just overwritten, that, anyone could go back to the legacy data and see how a site may have changed, from one recording to another. So that, those sketch maps, those elements will continue to be available. And it won't all be merged together, because that would get, I think, a little confusing to understand, like, what you were looking at if we tried to merge them all together. So they'll just remain as different and individual versions, but all associated with each other and accessible. Nikki, go ahead.
Sorry, I should have written down my question. But I was just curious. I know we can use the survey 123 in the field, but if we're in a place that has good internet, etc., is ICRIS available for updating sites? Like, could we just update it while we're on the spot if we had internet access? I mean, I deal with a lot of historic structures that are usually in places with good internet. Is that a possibility, or is that something that is not recommended?
I assume so, Shannon.
I would say yes, if you have internet access, you could do your site update within
Yeah.
ICRIS.
Yeah.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any
With a
reason that
tablet
you
or
couldn't.
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just looking for a workaround to having to copy and paste and create new things and then
Sure.
delete them through ArcGIS or
Right.
the survey 1, 2, 3, whatever. I just didn't know if there was something that you might not go well if you tried to do that remotely. So
it shouldn't be any different than doing it on your desktop computer.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
One of the primary difference, well, the big differences with the field app is one, yes, you don't need internet access. So if you are in a very remote area, it's not a problem, but also it is more, excuse me, more limited field. Just again, those sort of field sensitive items to capture while you're out there. So maybe just makes it go a little quicker or not, it's that it isn't necessarily, it's meant to be a convenience if it makes it more convenient for you, but certainly not required to be worked through that way. We're a little over time. That's okay. We're happy to stay and continue answering questions. So if anyone has any more, hit us with them. And if not, we'll see what happens next week, but we think it's going to be good. All right. Well, thank you all very much for participating in these sessions. As many as you have, we appreciate having the opportunity to get the information out to you and hear your questions, because your questions have been very useful for us to better inform how we're moving forward. So hopefully you'll find this beneficial, and we're looking forward to working with you through this process. So we will see you on the other side. Thank you all very much.